Hello, hello, Coach Tay here, back again with another video here. We got a little bit more of an exciting video. It's something that I've been working on for a little while now, but the whole idea here is, like the title says, it's how initial game plans can sort of help you improve, and how taking more of a structured approach to the game requires a little bit more taking it seriously. But at the end of the day, it's going to be able to make it so that you're able to, at least in my opinion, and how I was able to improve very, very quickly. Um, you know, this is how I believe people can look to improve. But without further ado, we're gonna get into it. So, what I got going over here is just a bunch of LPL VODs. Again, this can be used for anything. What we're gonna do is we're gonna outline how we can make a game plan. Okay. And again, the hope here is to adhere and help out anybody who is from Iron to probably Master, Grandmaster. Although there will be some stuff that maybe a Grandmaster player might not be aware of, or might be aware of, but they're not trying to abuse as hard as they should be, okay? Again, this is stuff that is more rational. You know, it's more or less for you to think about, okay? It's not really execution, but rather theoretical stuff. So what we're going to get into is just a random draft. I'm going to pick a random draft, go down to this one. So this is FPX V5 versus FPX. Okay, so V5, again, I don't really know what's going on here. This is 11.5. Maybe we'll get something a little bit more recent, actually. So we'll go to summer season, match history. Just pick a random VOD. Again, we got FPX. FPX versus RNG. Oh, I've already actually reviewed this. Okay, we'll go over here then. That was actually the video that I reviewed a little while ago. Not a little while ago, yesterday. Okay, so we got RA versus WE. Again, I don't really know who these teams are. I've never really seen them, but hey, it's a LPL team. So let's get into it. We're just not really gonna pay attention to the draft. Again, what I normally do in VODs is go over, you know, if you ever seen any other videos, it's pretty much just discussing how bans or how picks would warp game plans. Okay, that's really all it is. Like they pick Lee Sin, now it tells us that okay, Lee Sin could go top, mid, or jungle, and they're looking to go in. Although Lee Sin can adhere to a lot of different team comps, and then these guys pick Varus and what's it called? Volibear over here. And Volibear is obviously one that has to go in to do stuff. So it's an engage, and you're matching it with something that likes to engage as well. But again, the point here is not to go over draft. It's more or less just to see the finalized draft and then try to apply some basic knowledge and some basic fundamentals as to how we can plan out the first 5 minutes of the game. Because that's what game plans are. If you're ever planning for more than 5 minutes of a game at a time, chances are you're going to be wrong about what's going to happen because it's just so volatile. This game is not static. It's not like chess where you can plan, you know, like 50 moves ahead of time. Sorry. And so what we're going to mainly be going over is how we can plan out the first 5 minutes of any given game, given these 10 champions and how they interact, as well as the most high percent chance of certain things happening. And that concept of high percent chance is what we're going to be playing off of. Okay, so anything that's not happening in that case is something a little bit different. But again, we are going to touch as much as we can, touch up on as much as we can, so that we can sort of, you know, learn as much as we can. But with that being said, we're going to quickly if this wants to work, we're going to quickly just finalize the draft, and we're just going to fill this out. Is there an Akali? No, it was banned away. Akali is very okay. Now it's just being mean. Sett mid, Lee top. There's no Gwen. Mundo top. Holy smokes. Okay, this will be an interesting game then. Volley mid. Zoe mid. Karma. So we got some poke going on with some frontline, some beefy frontline, and then some engage going on. Okay, so we're gonna leave out the bans, but basically, I just did this with the intention of showing something that's a little more realistic. I know that this is competitive, but again, these topics can be applied to any given game ever. Okay, this is really just taking a look at how lanes work, and this is more of an advanced thing. If you do want to try and plan this out, you're gonna have some times where you're just like, okay, I'm completely wrong, and with that, you should learn from it. Okay, that's the hope of this, and we're gonna talk about how that can sort of help you out in just a bit. I should leave Diana here. I'm also leave Volibear here for the time being. Okay, so here's the basis. Okay, we're talking about initial game plans. We want to make sure we're theoretically thinking about the game at a basic level, and what that means is if we quickly zoom in. Okay, if we quickly zoom in, we notice, for instance, we go to top lane, okay? And the hope is to do this for every single lane, so we do top, mid, bot, and then we'll decide how the jungle should look to path and whatnot. But basically, so we have Lee Sin into Mundo. Now, Mundo is obviously a champion that likes to scale. Lee Sin is a champion that is a prio getter in melee matchups that is able to abuse his E in, okay? So he's able to skirmish really hard and fight. So we have Lee Sin versus Mundo. And really, all you really need to do from a basic standpoint, if you're not top lane, let's say you're jungle, for instance, let's say you're mid, let's say you're bot, or whatever, all you really need to worry about this top lane matchup is who gets priority earlier on. And then every once in a while, you might want to look to check out what's going on. But basically, we should assume that most of the time, the highest percent chance of occurring would be Lee Sin getting priority in this lane, okay? So earlier levels, Lee Sin should get the lead in terms of priority, okay? Second thing to note, level 6, very, very nice for gank setup. Another thing to note, which is a bit more, it's whatever if you're lower elo, but if you're higher elo, obviously you do want to note that this is an AP and a AD and an AD. These two are AD, so it is a lot of mixed damage. It is something you want to note for boots, merc chuds, tabbies, stuff like that. They are auto attackers, which is very nice. Auto attack, burst, but also auto attack, and then auto attack, okay? But we're not talking about boots here. We're talking about game plans and how we can abuse them, okay? So priority in lanes, mid lane, okay? So Zoe should be able to get priority into the set. So with that being said, and we will do this with a red marker to sort of, okay, that's very hard to see, but we'll just do this. Okay, that's also quite hard to see, and we're not doing that way. Zoe gets priority. Lee Sin gets priority. And then bot lane does get priority on the red side, okay? Why is this the case? Well, we can talk about this real quick, okay? So top lane, it's because Lee Sin has an AoE ability at level 1. He does have his E. E is very strong level 1. It does around 100 damage, I do believe. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little less, but I think it is around 100. And the cooldown is relatively low compared to most high damage level 1 abilities, okay? I think it's actually like 8 seconds. I could be wrong. But also, he does win this extended fight. So level 1, he hard wins against the Mundo, and he also has the ability to push in with the AoE ability. So why does Zoe beat Sett? Very basic. It's because of the range advantage. But Zoe also has the Q and the passive, okay? So you're going to be able to basically get a lot more damage than any other level 1 champion, aside from here and there. Just because you're able to abuse auto spacing, all right? And that's a topic that's a little more advanced, but again, because of this range advantage mid, most of the time, range matchups should be able to get priority. Again, if you are in low elo, stuff like this doesn't really matter because people aren't really paying attention to this sort of stuff. But if you are a little bit higher on, chances are the ranged matchup will get priority. Some things could skew this though. Obviously, if Sett is able to get a really good trade or level 1, something bad really happens for some really awkward reason, it's just something you do have to notice and look out for. Because if your game plan revolves around, okay, wait a minute, Zoe has to get priority, then we do want to swap that and look around like what's going on mid, because if it revolves around your first 5 minutes, chances are you do want to take a look every little while. Bot lane, though, it's just a hard stomp. I do think Varus and Karma both outrange. They're both ranged, but also Varus has the E, Halo Blades, whatever. Depends on what he takes. Comet is a little less, relevant nowadays when you do have the Hellblaze build. But nonetheless, unless something really bad happens level 1, and for example, if we want to zoom in, let's say if Varus passed this way and Karma passed this way, and let's say these guys notice that happening, and they're like, okay, wait a minute, let's engage, and then Varus is then forced to do this, maybe he burns Flash, then these guys can fight for priority. But if both 2v2, both champions come into lane at the same time, we can assume that these guys should get priority 80% of the time, right? And what does this mean for our junglers? Because junglers are essentially the dictators of how the early game pace will go. Diana likes to power farm. It can get a sub 30, 15 clear, which is very, very nice because you're able to get level 4 for the Scuttle Crab contest. Volibear, I think he has a really decent clear as well, but he's also a lot stronger, okay, in the early levels, okay? So what does this mean for us, okay? Well, we know that at Scuttle Crab, that Lee Sin should get push, all right? So Lee Sin gets push. We know at Scuttle Crab, Zoe should roughly have push. Okay, so Zoe has push. And we also know at Scuttle Crab that bot lane should get shoved in, and bot lane has push, okay? Very, very basic, I know. So if you are falling asleep because you already understand this sort of stuff, then by all means, we will get it heated up just a bit in 2 seconds. So what does this mean for jungle pathing? Okay, so if we can assume that certain lanes have certain priority at the Scuttle Crab, okay, that's what we mean when they have priority in early levels. Is this what's going to happen? What does this mean for us, okay? So if Diana starts topside and paths into bot, okay, and Volibear paths topside and paths into bot, who is going to get the bot side scut? It's very, very basic. Look at Zoe and how she's able to move. Look at Varus and Karma and how they're able to move. Do you think Diana would be very happy in this case? No, Diana is very, very sad. She is now getting cornered and four-manned, and these guys are like, oh my god, jungle diff, blah, 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 FF15, okay? No bueno, we don't want that. Now, Diana would be much happier if she started bot side and pathed into top, because even if Zoe has the priority, we have Lee Sin, and Lee Sin Diana, they can come, and then Zoe might be, lagging behind, or she's coming, and then Volibear comes, but Mundo is really weak earlier on, okay? So they can buy time, okay? And if they don't buy time, Sett might just have to dip and then come. Again, they might be able to get an E off, like a Zoe and a Volibear might be able to, win this 2v2 by blowing up Diana, and in that case, probably something is going wrong, okay? But here is the Master Plus tidbit, okay? This is where things get really, really interesting, and if you're a Master Plus and you're currently listening to this, communication goes a long way, because you can actually do something that'll get this Diana out of the game for good, okay? Because Diana is obviously a power farmer. She can be strong earlier levels, with Conquer as well, with Electrocute, whatever. Chances are she's taking Conquer. She's level 4. She's coming to this, okay? Sett's going to be over here. You can be up here. But what we're not paying attention to, these guys got priority. And if you know what a cheater recall is, which if you're a Master Plus, you absolutely should, these guys can push in that third wave. Karma might be level 2. Karma comes up. Varus gets a base, gets plus 400-ish gold, depending on how you're farming. Plus or minus 50, probably around there. And then Rel has to stay here because she's probably level 1, just hitting level 2, if they're doing it properly. And then she has to come, and then by the time Karma gets there, Rel should be right here. And then look at this numbers advantage we got going on. Okay? Now that right there is how you can hard win, because now all of a sudden this Diana gets double scudded, and Sett has to go back to mid, because probably he tried to come earlier on, may have lost a creep or two over here. And then all of a sudden, Karma looks to base. Zoe hopefully hasn't taken too much of a trade. If no trades have gone on whatsoever, the wave is now pushing back in. So if Lee Sin tries to move, which he shouldn't, if Lee Sin tries to move, for instance, or if Rel tries to go over here, Mundo gets to push this in, and now Mundo, who's a scaling champ, is able to get a little bit of a lead on top as well. And then we know that the strong 2v2 is very, very strong. And so Varus is coming back. Kaisa should have already based, or look to push this in or whatever. Now Varus is still level 2 at this point. He has to come back, collect this wave, And then if something happens down here, it's kind of interesting, but basically what should happen is Lee Sin's gonna be top, Mundo's gonna be top. Diana's like, oh my goodness, we're getting contested. Maybe dies, maybe has to burn flash, and then can't go through mid obviously because Zoe and Volibear and Karma over here. Varus is coming over here, and then all of a sudden they get to double scut. And at that point, red side is very, very happy. Okay. Now, why doesn't it happen every single game? Because the game plans are game plans. They're theoretical. They don't always work out. Okay. Something mid could have happened where this Sett knows exactly what he's doing, and he's able to trim down the wave a little bit, or he's able to pressure Zoe in a way where Zoe can't really get this like 3-wave crash or get this whatever in order to have Sett on her tower by the time that the Skull spawns. Okay, stuff like this can happen, which is why. Okay, they tend to go for the most percent or the highest percent chance of something occurring. So Volibear might path into bot side, and then if he sees something happen earlier on, he might look to go up for this top side. If he sees it happening, like he could go red into blue, Gromp, Wolves, Raptors into top side, knowing he probably won't get that sub 315 full clear. Although I'm not too sure. I think he can't. Anyways, so chances are Diana wants to start bot side, go into top. Chances are that Volibear wants to path into top or path into bot side, getting that priority. And then you're able to see, okay, but can I go into bot side? Can I go to mid? Can I go whatever? And this guy might be like, okay, can I go mid? Can I go top? Whatever, and whatnot. So again, this is roughly planning out your first clear, okay? Especially as your jungler. So what does this mean for laners? Because I know we talked a lot about jungle. The basic premise is, how can I help my jungler do what my jungler wants to do, okay? Because if your jungler, like let's say this is Diamond Elo, very, very possible this occurs. Your jungler's like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to start bot for the hell of it. And your Diana's like, okay, I'm just going to start bot because I want to get a 2-man leash. I want to get 2-man leash. 2-man leashes are stronger. Yeah. And these guys go, whatever. And they path into top scut. Now all of a sudden, Mundo is in a really awkward spot. And then Zoe has to be like, okay, I gotta get here. But now Karma can impact this quite heavily. Okay, so this is, again, you can understand this as soon as your Volibear is like, okay, I want to start bot side. And this is where basic knowledge of lanes and how they work is really, really helpful, especially the higher elo you get, because if you're able to get priority from support, or if you're able to get priority from top, you can impact the other side of the map simply by understanding how other lanes will work, okay? Because if this happens, and you get priority as Karma in this lane, and then all of a sudden, you know, whatever happens, you know, if something happens mid, and you're not there to help out, something's really, really wrong here, you know what I mean? So the basis is, okay, game plans require basic knowledge of lanes. How do lanes operate? Okay, and if we actually go back and look at how this draft plays out, and if we look, again, this is a game that I randomly chose. Volibear starts top, Diana starts bot, and they both path opposite. Why? Because lanes are kind of awkward. And if you look at top side, actually, if you look at bot side's hard winning this really nicely. And then mid, so I got this out of the way. I don't know why this is like so awkward. I don't know why this bot thing is here. But if you look, mid's actually going back and forth. So Zoe wasn't able to get that mid lane priority. I wish they would show what's going on mid, because this is so important. Mid's actually getting shoved in.
That's going to be huge for the bot lane, and I think they'll be going for the dive.
Okay, yeah, so disregarding this, I'm actually more interested in what's going on the map. But if we look, Lee Sin gets push. Sett and Zoe were actually contesting really heavily for who is getting that priority. But Sett hasn't used the potion yet, and neither has Zoe, so I don't think there's been a lot of trading going on, which is really awkward to see. But again, Diana pathed into top and Volibear pathed into bot. And I actually want to quickly make a point about this, because as soon as I saw, if we go back, as soon as we see this, we should be saying to ourselves, dive, 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 okay? But more so, this actually should have been, we should have been communicating this as red side here from day one, from minute one. And why is that the case? We'll go back over here. So if we understand Diana's bot, and if we understand that Volibear is top side, pathing opposite to each other, well, if we quickly look at bot side trades, if we trade back and forth, okay, if we trade and we trade evenly, which in this case, this is not even trades whatsoever. We're just hard winning the range matchup, and so these guys just push their advantage down the throat. Okay. Volibear level 1 or Volibear level 3 is very, very strong. Pass them into bot. By the time that this is happening, we take a look at where he is. He's just finished clearing his raptors. Okay. So these guys are gonna stack. Look at this wave. This wave is beautiful. All they have to do now is just slow push this wave, slow push this next wave that's coming from over here, and then once Volibear has cleared blue and wants to come down here, we just dive, and we dive. It doesn't even matter if they're base at this point, because at that point they're going to lose 2 to 3 waves, which is absolutely huge. And at that point, Kai'Sa's going to be level 1. All they have to do is actually just wait right here. If Volibear waits right here and then dives, again, it's just free. Okay? Stuff like this is going to happen a lot in your solo queue games, so it's something you do want to look out for. And again, if you're Volibear in this game, you want to be actively looking at what's going on in the lanes closest to where you're pathing to, and so you want to be looking at lanes in mid, lanes in bot, but primarily bot if stuff like this is happening. Similar to Diana pathing to top, you want to look at top and mid. Okay. So again, this is all initial game plans. This is just, okay, we know we hard win bot. If we ever get the chance to do dives bot, take good trades, whatever, we want to abuse this really, really hard, okay? So he actually just skips blue, he just does wolves and comes right back down.
They don't have heal, they have the cleanse, so and I think they'll be
and they're just going to dive. We might see a TP coming in from top. There it comes. They're going to trade 1 for 1. Hopefully they get the Kai'Sa, and this is worth. This is 100% worth. Being really, really patient with the flash. Very nice with the Varus. And then the most important thing to note here is actually this wave, but also the top wave. Mundo now gets a very, very good lead. He gets to get his early game deficit due to the fact that the matchup is very, very bad. Lee Sin is now a little bit behind. He might clear this wave, but it looks like he was chasing the Varus. But the main thing to note here is that Mundo gets to pick up the wave that's under tower, where he currently is, and we'll quickly look right here. If you look down in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, or sorry, in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, Mundo is now going to clear this wave. Diana's going to come top side here, and yeah, Mundo's just kind of happy now. The only thing that could happen is maybe Diana gets a kill, but I don't think that would really happen. Diana tries to go for a double scut. Oh, actually, Lee Sin, that's a really nice play. Good for him. He's in a flash. That was actually really beautiful. Nice by him. Gets the W just in time, and that's all we need to do. But again, Mundo is coming back. Kai'Sa comes back bot lane, and Lee Sin doesn't get any waves. So even though Lee Sin got the kill, Mundo is actually ahead in experience at this point, okay? And that's the most important thing to know. Okay, so yes, Varus dies here, and yes, Lee Sin gets the kill, but this wave is what we're primarily looking at, because if we take a look at real time, we look at right now, Kai'Sa's down here, Varus is level 3, Kai'Sa's level 2, we do have level 4 versus level 4, but this wave is pushing back into Varus, okay? And if we quickly note, Kai'Sa doesn't have flash anymore, and again, this is a topic about how we can push the lead even further. Volibear is pathing back down into bot side, and as these guys come back down, they should know they don't have any wards, because Varus and Karma were able to push. So all they really need to do is just come back down bot. They can cheese a bush, and then basically, hopefully, I imagine what could happen here is they deny this wave. So Volibear chooses to path back into top side. And that's actually why Diana was right here. Because if Diana's not here, okay, and Volibear is able to get this gank off, because if you look at this wave, it's really, really bad, and then we're able to push, and things go awry. But, okay, I'm talking a lot about stuff that is not really relevant to game plans anymore, but I just want to quickly, because I love to dissect games and how certain things work. Maybe there's a tidbit in there for you. Again, the main idea here is what's the pressure like in draft? Because they get push. This is back and forth, I guess. Zoe should get push, I think, in an ideal world, and then Lee Sin should get push. And then Diana wants to path into priority, Volibear pass into priority, and whatnot. But that's really the basis of how you can, think about games, okay? And if I'm able to do this at a professional level, just based off of lanes and how they drafted, it's very, very easy to pick up this skill. And what you need to do is, in every single solo queue game that you play, you should start getting to the habit of, once all 10 champions have been locked in, just be like, okay, I think this top lane matchup should go this way. And if it doesn't, and if you're really, really studious, you'll understand why, okay? Because if you understand why, then that's how you understand the game to a better level, and that's how you improve, okay? But really, all you really want to make sure is that you're just continually doing this in every single game you play. Maybe 3 games out of maybe like 5 games that you play, you could do it in, and then the next 2 games, just do whatever. But it's all about building the habit of thinking about how lanes work, okay? Because if you think about how lanes work, and you think about how jungles work, then all of a sudden, the game starts to revolve, especially the early game, starts to revolve around how these 2 players, how the 2 junglers work, okay? So that's really going to be it for initial game plans and how you can maybe create your own. Because if you actively think about it and you actively look to update your goals based on what your game plan is, you'll be able to discuss why it's good, why it's bad, why it's right, why it's wrong. And the most important thing, if I were to give one thing why this is so beneficial, is because it keeps you focused. And if you're finding that you lose focus in your games, you start to tilt, you just start blaming other people, this is what can help you. Because if you approach it to improve, and you can think about why your game plan was wrong, then you're really a lot more focused, okay? So after every single mistake, try and think about what went wrong and why it went wrong. And if you try and do that 100 games, I guarantee you your skill level will improve exponentially, okay? So that's going to be it for now. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, and this was hopefully valuable to whoever's watching. But that's going to be it for now. Cheers, and thanks so much.